Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody present here in the room and everybody at home, live streaming. It's important and good for us to be here together. We're going to do a service that includes a number of different elements to it. But before we begin with the Yom Hashoah observance, we'll start with Mincha, and Cantor Aronoff will announce the pages. We'll do Mincha together, but one of the things I want to point out that is in numerous stories that I know that a lot of us have read over time, one of the things that was really important to a certain sector of the people who were in the camps was the opportunity to be able to daven together, which is an amazing thing to think about, considering if you are in a situation like that, you can have a lot of questions about the existence of God or where God is. But a lot of people affirm that, and so it's really apt and very powerful of us to be able to be together and to start with Mincha.
Mincha is on page 120. Does everybody have a Siddur? There are Siddurim in the back over there. Mincha is on page 120. Ashrei ushvei veitecha od yalelu chasel Ashrei shekach lo Ashrei Adonai Elohav tehila leDavid aramim Tilat Adonai Yadaber Pi Vivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodshol Olam Va'ed V'anachnu Nevarech Ya Me'atav Yad Olam Hallelujah Yitgadal V'Yikra Shemei Rabbah B'Yalmad Yivrach Yirutei V'Yamlich Malchutei B'Chayechonav V'Yimechon V'Chayt Chol Beit Yisrael B'Galau V'Zman Kariv V'Imru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mavorach Le'olam Le'omei Omaya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yipor V'Yitruman V'Yinaseh Vitadar Vital Vitalel Shmei Kudesha Brichu Lieh Lamin Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Damiron B'Yalma V'Yimeru Amen.
122b for the Amidah.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarai Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol Hagibor v'Yanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer Ufoked Umoshia Umagen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye Metim Ata Rav Leoshia Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Metim Barachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Mi chamocha bal givurot umi domelach melech memit umachaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lahachayot metim baruch ata Adonai mechaye hametim. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב היד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו, ליומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. נחם אדוני אלוהינו את השם. גוד מוצל מאש. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ועלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפור ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. ליהי מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בימיו ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
תתקבל צלותו ונבואתו לכל ישראל קודם אב ובן וישמעי ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהי שלום רב מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שנות השמיים ויוצר ראש השמיים. עכשיו יגרום בשמיים. על כן נקבל. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. You may be seated unless you are going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish for Mincha today, which is still the 27th day of Nisan. Today, on the 27th day of Nisan, we would call the yortzites of Jules Bershak, William Chernoff, Marion Dreyer, Harry Herstick, Jerome Isaacs, Esther Rodin, Lou Shotland, and Norris Solomon. Any other for the 27th of Nisan that were not mentioned? Those who are reciting Kaddish, please rise and join with me on page 136. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah.
Amen.
Bialma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam uleomei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen. We'll begin our Yom Hashoah commemoration, and we'll intersperse Mariv within that, as we have people who are in mourning and observing Kaddish, and it's just what we do. I'd like to introduce to you this evening Judy Gross-Minas, who is here with her wonderful daughters and her wonderful granddaughter, or maybe one of your grandchildren, is here at Adat Ariel, and you may know her already, Liron Devere. So this is Liron's grandmother, and she's a survivor, and she's originally from Budapest. Liron didn't know what camp you were in. Can you tell us? Bergen-Belsen. Yes. You have in common with my mother-in-law, whose story I'll tell this evening, the same camp. And then a pretty wonderful thing happened to you, I understand, in that you were able to board a special ship, the Exodus, that took you to Eretz Yisrael. I think it's an emotional thing for all of us to be able to be in this room with you tonight as we all commemorate. And we are very, very honored to have you, and very happy to see such a wonderful, vibrant person here with your family. It means the world to all of us. So thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to introduce that Cantor Aronoff will now sing Rivkala, the Shabbos one, the Sabbath one, that you have in the material that was left at your seat.
So Rivkala di Shabbosdika is a song which was inspired by what happened in the Bialystok ghetto on the Shabbat of July 12, 1942, when 5,000 Jews were tragically shot by the Germans. Women whose husbands were killed on that Shabbat day were called Shabbosdika, the Shabbos ones. The words to this song are written by Pesach Kaplan, who died in the Bialystok ghetto. The composer of the tune is unknown. The words mean, well, I think you have the translation. Let me see. You have the translation, so I don't need to tell you what it means. You have the translation. So here is Rivkala di Shabbosdika. Rivkala di Shabbosdika arbet in Fabrik, dreht vor dem zu, vor dem Fleck zu neu verstrick. Oi die Ghetto finstere, dauert schon zu lang, und das Haus azoi verklemmt, tut dir azoi bang. Wo ist mein lieben Kerl, lebt noch Choshvu? Sie in Konzentratie lager Arbeit schwer ohne Ruhe. Oi, wie finster ist ihm dort, bitter ist mir da, sind von jenem Schabes und sind von jener Show.
We call on Maddie to come forward for, sorry. We'll read together. It will never happen again. Wait, is that?
That's a song.
Okay, sorry.
We were the
Sorry. Maddie, you were the right call.
We Were the Children by Barbara Sonic. We played, we laughed, we loved. We were ripped from the arms of our parents and thrown into the fire. We were nothing more than children. We had a future. We were going to be lawyers, rabbis, wives, teachers, mothers. We had dreams. Then we had no hope. We were taken away in the dead of the night like cattle. In cars, no air to breathe, smothering, crying, starving, dying. Separated from the world to be no more. From the ashes, hear our plea. This atrocity to mankind cannot happen. Remember us, for we were the children whose dreams and lives were stolen away.
And now we will read some of the names of people who are loved ones or ancestors in our community who were murdered during the Shoah. We'll do this 3 times during our service this evening. And if you have another name to share, you can say it near the end of the service.
Dola Abeles, Mendel Abeles and family, the Alexander family, Ira Arts, Tuluba Arts, Mark Arts, Mina Arts, Bankier family, Ella Behrman, James Behrman, Leo Behrman, Rosie Behrman, Alter Zev Belfer, Baruch Hirsch Belfer, Ben Sion Belfer, Chava Hinda Belfer, Esther Frimet Belfer, Albert Benvenisti, Baruch Benvenisti, Nisim Benvenisti, Ruben Benvenisti, Sarah Benvenisti, Tzipora Benvenisti, Elia Berkowitz, Devora Berkowitz, Isidore Berkowitz, Yaakov Berkowitz, Yosel Berkowitz family, Sender Berkowitz, Wolf Berkowitz, Armin Berkowitz, Avram Berkowitz and children, Feiga Berkowitz family, Machla Berkowitz, Sender Berkowitz family, Tzolel Berkowitz family, Yidis Berkowitz family, Yitzchak Binner, Meyer Binner, Sarah Binner, Frima Blackman, Joseph Blackman, Golda Blackman, Ephraim Blackman, Kurt Bloch, Meta Bloch, Chaya Blumenstein, Gita Blumenstein, Israel Blumenstein, Hakatan Bomberg, Malvina Bomberg, Milo Bomberg, Baruch Brauner, Toba Brauner, Bila Cherlevich, Chana Cherlevich, Fischl Cherlevich, Frida Cherlevich, Shio Cherlevich, Isaac Cordoval, Marie Cordoval, Amalia Diamant, Martin Diamant, Sammy Diamant, Shimon Diamant, Yehuda Diamant, Abraham Domke, Eliyahu Domke, Miriam Domke, Ruth Domke, Moshe Engel, Yaakov Koppel Engel, Ita Feynman, Mordechai Lieb Feynman, Ben Sion Fish, Barbara Frankel, Paul Frankel, Irene Fried, Eugenia Friedman, Dorothea Frost, Joel Friedman family, Chana Gelberg, Chaim Gelberg, Chuna Gelberg, Devora Gelberg, Israel Gelberg, Malka Gelberg, Pinchas Gelberg, Rachel Gelberg, Shio Gelberg, Cyril Gelberg, Wolf Gelberg, my great-grandmother Shifra Goldstein, and her sisters and brother, Bella Goldstein, Hugo Chaim Goldstein, and Hermina Goldstein.
There's a pattern to these names. We'll hear the pattern to these names as we go forward. The pattern to these names is the number of names we hear with the same last name. And we'll see a little bit later when we see the video that came from Rabbi Schuldenfrei in Poland right now. The list, a page of all the people with his last name, his family, who we'll see later on through that video. We'll continue now with Mariv, Hurachum, and Baruchu. To brachot before Shema and Ve'ahavta as well.
Please rise if you're able. וירחם יכפר עוון ולא ישחית וירבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו אדוני הושע מלך יעננו ויום קורנו ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו אמר יורם אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה, אדוני, המעריב ערבים, אהבת עולם בית ישועתך, אהבת תורה מצוות קיום משפטים. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה, אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, שמע ישראל. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
So that's where they were a number of hours ago. But it's important to point out that when people go on the March of the Living, we're done with the film. When people go on the March of the Living, they're no longer alone. Because as a person who's been on the March of the Living, I can tell you that before any person who is there for the march enters that space, the first people who get there are the Israeli army. The first people who come close are the people in the Israeli jets flying over. The first people who carry something in are the soldiers carrying a Torah scroll. So, because of them, those who have attended and gone there know they never need to be alone. We'll continue now as Cantor Aronoff will sing, "It Will Never Happen Again."
My eyes have never seen the days and nights that you have seen. My ears have never heard the cries ringing out from where you've been. My body has never known the pain that came upon you in unthinkable ways. But somewhere inside of me, there is a place that's reaching out to you. Tell me the stories and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. There is no way for time to heal the wounds that did you harm. Torn from your family, pulled from your home, a brand upon your arm, a number to be your identity, but no one could steal your dignity. And somewhere there is a place in me that's reaching out to you. Tell me the stories and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. And though today you're here and free, you carry the burden of memories, and I must learn your history. So no one ignores, no one denies, no one forgets the truth. Tell me the stories, and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. Tell me the stories, and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again.
We call on Rachel.
My bar mitzvah, his bar mitzvah. When I was 13, I became a bar mitzvah. When he was 13, he became a bar mitzvah. When I was 13, I studied the pathways of the Bible and roadways of the Talmud. When he was 13, he studied the canals of Warsaw and the sewers of the ghetto. At my bar mitzvah, I wore a new tali over a new outfit. At his bar mitzvah, he wore a rifle and bullets over a suit of rags. At my bar mitzvah, they praised my voice, my song, my melody. At his bar mitzvah, they praised his strength and his courage. At my bar mitzvah, I read from the scroll of the Torah. At his bar mitzvah, he wrote a scroll of fire. At my bar mitzvah, I blessed God. At his bar mitzvah, he questioned God. At my bar mitzvah, family and friends came to say l'chaim. At his bar mitzvah, Rabbi Akiva and Trumpeldor, a Zionist hero, and Hannah and her 7 sons came to escort him to heaven. At my bar mitzvah, I took an oath to live as a Jew. At his bar mitzvah, he took an oath to die as a Jew. At my bar mitzvah, I studied my road of life. At his bar mitzvah, he began his road to martyrdom. When I was 13, I became a bar mitzvah. When he was 13, he became a bar mitzvah.
We'll turn now to the Michamocha on page
139. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Norati lo tosef ele Malchutcha ra'uvanecha boker yam lifnei Moshe Ze Eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed V'ne'emar kifod Adonai et Yaakov Ugealo miad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim Ufrazanenu sagat shalomecha V'taknenu beitzah tova milfanecha V'oshinu l'man shemecha V'yagein ba'adeinu v'aser me'aleinu Oyev dever v'cherev v'ra'a v'yagon V'aser satan milfanenu me'acharenu Uv'etzel kanafecha tastirenu Ki el shomrenu matzilenu ata Ki el melech hanun v'rachum ata U'shmor tzeitenu Avoenu l'chaim l'shalom Me'ata v'yad olam Baruch ata Adonai Shomer amo Yisrael la'ad.
Amen. We'll continue now with Cantor Aronoff singing the partisan song.
I'm going to do the first verse in Yiddish and then the first verse in English. It's on your sheets, so feel free to join in either language if you'd like. Sag nicht kein Mal, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Chodschim len bleiene, verstellen bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau. Es wird abheugt von unser Trott, wir seinen da. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau. Es wird abheugt von unser Trott, wir seinen da. Never say that there is only death for you. Though leaden skies may be concealing days of blue, because the hour we have hungered for is near. Beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here. Because the hour we have hungered for is near. Beneath our tread the earth shall tremble, we are here.
Well, I'd like to share a couple of stories with you. It's wonderful that Judy was here for a little while, and understandable. Oh, there you are. I'm so glad that you're back. So, my mother-in-law, Henya Handler Aitchison, was born in Warsaw, Poland. And she had a wonderful middle-class upbringing with two brothers that she loved and a mother and father that she adored. I'm going to start by telling the story by reading to you this letter that my husband Ken shared with me to start it off. And it's amazing to me that she had to do this. She applied to the Germans after the war for a special pension for Warsaw Ghetto survivors. This is the only thing she ever wrote about her experience. And she was forced to do so by the German government in order to get what was rightly hers. Dear Sir or Madam, I recently received a letter from you regarding my application for a ghetto payment. You asked for a brief description of the work I undertook. Please find it here. I worked in the Warsaw Ghetto. I was living there with my parents. She wasn't even 14 years old then. One day I was walking on the street and a truck came by when I was walking with other girls. It took me to a broom and brush factory. I worked there sweeping, cleaning, and scrubbing toilets. At the end of the day, the truck brought me back to the street where I was picked up. It wasn't for the money that my parents, when I told my parents about it, the next day they said I should go back to the street where I was picked up so I should work again because she wasn't paid. I agreed and went outside, and the truck picked me up and brought me again to the factory, and this happened for the next 3 or 4 weeks. After this period, as the ghetto began to be liquidated, I was brought to Treblinka, then Majdanek, then Auschwitz, then Hindenburg, and then Bergen-Belsen, where I was liberated by the British. This day I will never forget. But for those few weeks, I voluntarily chose to go out in the street and be picked up to work at the factory day after day. That wasn't enough. They then asked her for additional information, and she sent the following. I was transferred from Treblinka to Majdanek during a very cold part of the year, but I don't recall exactly when. I do, however, recall that while I was at Majdanek, I was required to do the following tasks: carrying big rocks from one place to the other. I was later assigned to carry manure using a wheelbarrow with another girl. I was assigned to scoop algae and scum from a pond or stream. After some time, I was sent to Auschwitz, where I went through many selections. And I think you all know what selections are. So let me tell you a little bit about what she didn't write to the German government. Kenya, as I said, under the age of 14, was in the Warsaw Ghetto, and this is what happened. There was no medicine. There were no things that could be used by anybody. They were hungry. They were starving. They were living cramped in quarters with numerous other people, some of them strangers. And yet Henya's mother figured out that she could, when she found a little bit of parsley, turn it into parsley water, which would be vitamin C, which could help people in her family if they got sick. So one day a cousin of the family was ill with something, and her mom said to her, "Here, Henya, take this little jar of parsley water over to our family's other place where they were." She did it. But when she came back to her apartment, everybody was gone. Her parents and her brothers had been rounded up while she ran that errand, and she never saw any of them again. And soon after that, as she said, she was deported from there. So I have two stories, actually three brief stories to tell you, if that's okay. Henya was a very strong young girl. I don't mean strong physically. All the way through her life, she was a strong person with the capability of doing problem solving like nobody's business, right, Ken? So here's what happened. People started to respect her. Even though she was a very young teenager, they started to respect her. One day, a woman came up to her and opened her hand, and in her hand was a diamond. And Henya told me that the woman said, by the way, Henya told none of these stories to her family at all, ever, until she found out that I was going to be a rabbi leading an adult March of the Living. And that's when she told me. She said the woman came up to her and said, "Henya, I know you've been successful with some of the commandants in the camp to be able to survive and get things. So I want you to take this diamond to them and see if you can trade my diamond for me to work in Canada." Canada was a warehouse. It was a warehouse where they stored all the things that they had taken from the Jews when they came into the camp. But it was huge. And if girls could get a job working in Canada, they could hide. They could survive. They had plenty of work to do. So what did Henya do? She did take the diamond to the commandant and said, "I would like to trade this for the space for 3 girls in Canada." She knew what she could achieve, and she achieved it. So she was able to get that woman more life and get herself, maybe it was 4, I think it was 4, to get herself placed in Canada, and then I think I was wrong, 2 other friends that she had in the camps. Everybody got a job there. This from what was then probably a 15-and-a-half-year-old girl. Here's another story. They all had to line up every day to be, in some cases, selected. And Henya was asked to line up. This was in the early days, before she told me, before she had no hair. She stood in the line, and an SS officer walked down the line with a big cane and stick, and he stopped in front of Henya. And he started to play with her hair, curled hair. And she was obviously terrified to be standing there. And we don't know what happened to the other people who were there in that line that day. But the man barked at her. "What are you worried about? I'm not going to do anything to you. I just want to touch your hair." He continued to do it, and she stayed perfectly still because that was her only choice until he left. And God knows what kinds of things were, and we know what kinds of things were required of many young people. She was lucky to survive it and to also have somebody only touch her hair. Last thing, she was liberated from Bergen-Belsen, and she was liberated by the English army. And in that liberation, there was a soldier. His name was Harry. And he took care of all the girls. He moved them from their barracks to the rooms in which the officers had stayed. He and several others made sure that they got food. And then one day he asked all the girls in that room, "What can I get for you? What can I do?" And a lot of the girls answered what they would like, clothing or something more to eat or something. And Henya said, "I want a job. And I want you to help me find my family." He found her the job. He never found her family. However, they fell in love and got married and raised 2 children in the Bronx, both of them wounded, but able to find a life and some solace together. And that was her liberation. I'm sure that many people remember their liberation from those camps and never forget. Judy, I understand your response because Ken's mom, when he was a young boy, often had nightmares and would wake up in the middle of the night. It's not easy being the child of a survivor. But the love that she shared, Aleha HaShalom, and the way that she built her life again is something that is not only a miracle, but a heroism. And everybody who did that is a hero, not only for surviving, but surviving and thriving in their lives. We're going to continue now by the reading of names. Berta Gluck, David Gluck, Herman Gluck, Regina Gluck, Margit Gottesman, Samuel Gottesman, Bertha Gottschalk, Chaim Itzik Gringutz, Elsa Grunwald, Henry Grunwald, Martin Grunwald, Bullock Grinbaum, Charles Grinberg, Egon Grinberg, Rosika Grinberg, Beryl Dove Grunstein, Chaya Sarah Grunstein, Chaim Tiber Grunstein, Devora Vera Grunstein, Lieb Grunstein, Meir Miklos Grunstein, Mordechai Grunstein, Pinchas Grunstein, Zygmunt Grunstein, Yehudi Grunstein, Anna Handler, Joseph Handler, Couple Handler, Romek Handler, Brana Heisler, Isidore Heisler, Joseph Heisler, Moshe Aaron Heisler, Emil Herman, Justin Herman, Ludwig Herman, Nani Herman, Blima Hershkovitz, Isaac Hershkovitz and 2 sons, Mirama Crystal Hirschhorn, Abram Hochman, Yocheved Fega Hochman, Benjamin Jakubowicz, Miriam Jakubowicz, Rivka Jakubowicz, Shalom Jakubowicz, Ernest Juskovic, Lagos Juskovic, Helena Juskovica, Avram Katz, the 25 descendants of Baruch and Jenny Katz, Hannah Katz, Gertrude Katz, Hinza Katz, Isaac Katz, Lieber Katz, Lila Katz, Nachaman Katz and family, Rivka Katz, Sally Katz, Sura Katz, Yankov Katz, Clara Kaufman, Etta Kaufman, Gita Kaufman, Menachem Mendel Kaufman, Zahava Kaufman, Zev Aryeh Kaufman, Zvi Meyer Kaufman, Elias Kling, Ernst Kling, Minna Kling, Ruth Kling, Minna Korach, Lisa Christel, Etta Jacobson Christel, David Christel, Kramer family, Arno Lehman, Levitz family, Nanny Lewin, Ursula Lewin, Beryl Liebling, Esther Tilly Liebling, Isaac Liebling, Jechen Liebling, and Greta von Minden, and the Modreikanen family, the Oehler family, and Hans Oppenheim. In Mariv, we will share 2 minutes of silence or spend the time on davening the Amidah as you so choose.
Please rise if you can. The Amidah is on 142b.
Cantor Aronoff will close the Amidah with Anima Ami.
Ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin. Be'emunah shelema, beviat HaMashiach, beviat HaMashiach ani ma'amin, ve'af al pi she'yitmamea, im kol ze ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, be'emunah shelema, beviat HaMashiach, beviat HaMashiach ani ma'amin, ve'af al pi she'yitmamea, im kol ze ani ma'amin.
call now on Shayna.
Okay. It says, I believe, we believe. In the Warsaw Ghetto, Jews added an 11th commandment. Do not despair. We believe that justice and peace will reign. The image of God will be seen in all humanity. We believe in the sun even when it is not shining. We believe in God even when God is silent. Ruthlessness and arrogance will cease to be. There will be peace within our walls, serenity within our homes. There will be hope within each of us. Even marching to their deaths, the people lifted their voices in a song proclaiming their faith, when there will be a time of peace and justice for all the inhabitants of the earth. I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah, and even though it is delayed, I do believe that the Messianic age will come.
And that's the song that we just sang together. We rise now for Aleinu. Cantor Aronoff will count the Omer before we do Aleinu. We can't tell you until we say the blessing which day of the Omer this is. However, let's take a counting of the Omer experience today and turn it into how we count with a sense of fulfillment and wonder and joy and gratefulness each day of our lives. And as we live each day of our lives, we remember those who never got an opportunity to do that.
Counting of the Omer is on page 152. I'm going to recite the bracha, and you can follow me and recite the bracha after me, and then I will count the number that comes after 12. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer.
Hayom 13 yom shehem shavua echad v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 13th day of the Omer. Let's turn back to page 150 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechol amonam. Va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehunat Hashamayim v'yosed haaretz u'Moshe v'karo b'shamayim ima'al u'shinat al keinu kavel achanun eloheinu. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד. ושמו אחד.
Cantor Aronoff will now read the the last segment of names that we have on our list. If you have a name to add, please stand if you can and stay standing during this part of the reading of the names so that we can include somebody that you have remembered.
Greta Pachter, Kurt Pachter, Minna Polman, Abraham Rafer, Moshe Rafer, Zelda Rafer, Henrietta Rappaport, Samuel Rappaport, Anzia Rhein, Edek Rhein, Jurek Rhein, Moshe Rhein, Margit Reisman, Sylvia Reisman, Pinchas Reutblum, Yankev Reutblum, Israel Reutblum, Chana Rosenbaum, Moshe Aaron Rosenbaum, and 5 sons. Minna Rosenberg, Myril Rosenblatt, Cyril Rosenblatt, Zanvil Rosenblatt, Alter Rotenberg, Chaim Shlomo Rotenberg, Dreiser Rotenberg, Movsha Ruda, Andre Sapintan, Abraham Sapintan, Frida Sapintan, Herman Sapinatan, Judith Sapintan, Berthold Scheinman, Esther Gringot Schlossberg, Judith Christel Schwartzmann, Eva Schwartz, Naska Schwartz, Roman Schwartz, Selma Schwartz, Reisel Silbermans, Shmuel Hirsch Silbermanas, Yisrael Moshe Silbermanas, Erica Simon, Max Simon, Rita Simon, Agnes Summer, Bendik Summer, Doris Summer, Jakob Summer, Jenny Summer, Minna Summer. Spatzgein family, Eva Stang, Frieda Stang, Irma and Siegfried Stern, Irmagerd Stern, Kurt Stern, Werner Stern, Roman Smuler, Yitzchak Teitelbaum, Moshe Teitelbaum, Pesa Roise Teitelbaum, Toba Schendel Teitelbaum. Talman family, Alta Tomber, Yankov Tomber. Weintraub family, Joseph Wilder, Paulina Wilder, Ruchla Ziota Wilder, Wilder family, David Winnick, Yosef Verstafter, Abraham Woznicka, David Woznicka, Esther Woznicka, Helen Woznicka, Mordechai Woznicka, Samuel Nathan Woznicka, Hinsaison Yankov, and Zira family.
Thank you. Cantor Aronoff will now sing El Male Rachamim, the memorial prayer for all of those who were murdered during the Holocaust.
If you wish to follow, it's on page 73 in our Siddur. Again, I ask you to rise if you're able. El Male Rachamim shochen bameromim Ametzeh menucha nechona tachat kanfei השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים לנשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל שנטבחו בשואה אנשים, נשים וטף שנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו, שמסרו את נפשם על קידוש השם. בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם. וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ונאמר Amen.
We read together, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of all our brethren who perished in the Shoah, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered, suffocated, and burned to ashes. May their memory endure and inspire deeds of charity and goodness in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Cantor Aronoff will read the names of those for whom we observe Yahrzeit this week, and then we'll turn to the last page to be able to say the special Kaddish for the camps, and that will be the Kaddish that we also say for those that we mourn in our community now. When we say that Kaddish, I know it is usually done that people who are not in mourning or observing a Yahrzeit don't rise. And I actually wrote an article about how you shouldn't say Kaddish if you don't need to. But we need to. So anybody who feels comfortable to rise and say Kaddish along with us, right after Cantor Aronoff reads the Yahrzeit names, please do.
Today, the 28th of Nisan, in addition to everyone else, we recall the following Yahrzeits. Those of Sylvia Abrams, Sidney Friedman, Sarah Gidron, Bori Herstick, Bernice Rabinek, Ruth Seaman, David Sugar, Meyer Isaac Tepperman, Fred Weisselbaum, and Bruce Zalkind. Anybody else for the 28th of Nisan?
For those of us who are comfortable doing so, we rise now for Kaddish. We'll read it together. Yitgadal, Kishinev, V'yitkadash, Warsaw, Shmei Rabbah, Auschwitz, B'alma divrach Yute, Dachau, V'yamlich Malchute, Buchenwald, B'chayechon V'yamechon, Babi Yar, U'v'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Baghdad, V'agala U'vizman Kariv Hebron, V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'ol Me'omaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach Kfar Etzion. V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam Mainz. V'yitnaseh V'yitadar Terazin. V'yitale V'yitalal Treblinka. Shmei Dekudesha Bergen-Belsen. Le'ela Vilna. Mikol Birchata V'shirata Usha. Tush Bechata V'nechamata Masada. Damiran B'alma Jerusalem. V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbamin Shemaya. V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mramav. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. We're about to take our candles as we exit the room. You'll see matches there too Please share matches, but take enough of them so that we don't have to take a long time to get the candles. We'll light them along the way, and we'll set them out, go through the pathway, and on your left you'll see our Holocaust memorial. There's foil there. Please take your candle and set it down in that spot. And after that point, we will disperse. But one thing that we need to remember is, as Jews in the Jewish community, people who care deeply about one another and about our traditions, we may disperse from a room, but we never disperse from one another. I'd like to read this paragraph by Elie Wiesel. How does one mourn 6 million people who died? How many candles does one light? How many prayers does one recite? Do we know how to remember the victims, their solitude, their helplessness? They left us without a trace, and we are their trace. Please head toward the candles, and Cantor Aronoff will share wonderful music with all of us as we proceed to put our candles down. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening.
Yeah.